Good morning.
Good morning, Jolie.
Welcome to Breakroom Mom.
Thank you so much for having me.
Steph, I'm so excited that you're here, and I'm so excited to chat with you today because this is a subject that is near and dear to my heart, trying to be healthy while managing all the things that we do as women. So Steph, for those who do not know you, you are a registered dietitian. You have a master's in public health, a degree in exercise science, and certifications in yoga, Pilates, and strength training. You are so impressive.
Thank you.
You also have the coolest social handle through Fit and Fed by Steph. And I know you have a website and a program as well. And your content is like food porn. I love watching it. It's just so calming and soothing. I recommend to everybody go check out Steph's socials. All right, my friend. Well, we're going to talk today about food, health, and this is really, really important for all the moms out there and my listeners who are often just like struggling and juggling. They want to be healthy. They're not feeling fed. And quite frankly, we're often eating off of our kids' plates all the time.
Most definitely. Yeah, I see that a lot with, I'm not a mom. I'll say that from the start, but I see it. I've worked with many moms, and I see that a lot with my clients, that struggle of, like you said, like you have the goals, you want to, have all the things in mind that you want to be doing, but really putting it into practice in real life. And whether you're a mom or not, just the, balancing and juggling life while also prioritizing yourself is, I think, something a lot of people can relate to.
My friend, I have so many questions for you, but before we get into all of the questions, I want to do something fun that I do with each of my guests, which is called Our Turn for a Tantrum. I think as adults and as moms, which is a lot of my listeners, we don't often get the chance to just let it all out and vent. We kind of keep it all together. So, Steph, I'm going to let you roll with your tantrum, and then I'm going to go into mine today.
Good. My tantrum today is really just about the narrative that if you're struggling to stay consistent with healthy choices, then it's the fact that you're lacking discipline or willpower. I don't know about you, but I see so much content online that's like, wake up at 5 a.m. and you do these 10 things every single day. And it's just very unrealistic for most people. Usually when you're struggling with consistency, it's because you're doing way too much at once, trying to change too much at once, or the changes you're making are simply unsustainable. So then, of course, consistency is hard. Mm-hmm. Reframe I would love to see is going from inconsistency means that you're lacking something to inconsistency is just a sign to pause and sort of assess whether what you're doing is something that aligns with your life right now, or is it something that you would even want to be doing for the rest of your life? Because if you enjoy your routine, then consistency really does come naturally without you having to fight for it.
Man, that's a good one. And I know exactly what you're talking about. All those wellness influencers, get up at 5 a.m., take this vitamin, run 5 miles on the treadmill. I don't know how they don't reach a point of like burnout. Like maybe it's great for a couple of weeks, but I think that's something really, really hard to carry with you through the seasons of life and challenges. And when you get sick or something's going on at work or whatever the case may be. So totally get it. And that's a good one. Mine today stuff is a little bit more superficial. Okay. My tantrum. I'm not going to name names. I was parked outside of a jewelry store the other day. I was waiting for it to open. I needed to get some batteries replaced in my husband's watch. I was just running a quick errand for him. I was fully parked in one of those parking spots that is like angled. Someone was parked next to me. I'm in park. My car is completely off. I'm literally just like sitting there looking at my phone, waiting for this store to open. This person backs out of their spot, rams into my car. Like, I guess they just made like such an abrupt turn of their wheel that it rammed into my car and it did some damage. This person got out of their car. We had a conversation. We exchanged numbers. He agreed that he was going to help pay for the damage. I reached out to him. I got 2 estimates. I reached out to him. He ghosted me. Steph, he ghosted me. And this was not crazy amounts of money. It was like $1,200, $1,400, which is a lot. Like, that's a lot. Totally get it. But it was not like thousands of dollars. And so this man ghosted me. And that's going to be my tantrum for today, because I just was like really peeved about it that this happened.
Oh my gosh. Did you not? Don't you have his like insurance? Like, how does that work? Can you?
Yeah.
Or buy board or something if you need to?
Yes. So the reason that I reached out to him to begin with was I got these 2 quotes and I was like, hey, I can either file it with your insurance, but I know that that's going to cause repercussions for you, or we can just kind of handle this like out of the insurance loop and like we'll settle up individually. And I never heard a response despite like 3 or 4 follow-ups from me. So I really just like had a conversation with my husband where I was like, do we do it? Do we just like be those jerks who like reach out to his insurance and do it? And he was like, you know what? Don't even worry about it and all this stuff like that. But at the time I was just like, this is frustrating. So my friend who hit my car, if you're listening to this podcast right now, just know I have not forgotten. And I took the high road. Yes. Too funny. Steph, I read off all of your credentials. I'd love to talk a little bit about your journey and how you got here and what made you interested in this and turning it into a business. So I'm just going to let you share.
Yeah, I mean, my journey started about 17 years ago. I hit my highest weight when I was in high school. And at the time, I did not have a lot of great guidance in that area. I had the media and lots of diets and things like that. And people in my life who I love, but were not the best like models for a healthy relationship with food or weight loss or relationship with my body. And so using all of that information, I decided I was also in a place where I was just very like desperate to feel good in my body again and lose the weight as quickly as possible. And I was like 16. So I'm like, I don't care. What are the repercussions, right? So I ended up eating as little as I could, burning as many calories as I could. And I ended up losing more than 50 pounds, but it was quickly and it was not in the right way. And that sort of kicked off 12 years of yo-yo dieting. I was always on and off different diets, searching for one that would fix or that would stick. And it was really like any diet I saw. I tried keto and paleo and, Weight Watchers, tracking macros, calories, pretty much whatever I saw and was trendy. And the results that I saw also came and went when I was on it or off it. And it was sort of the same thing with movement at that time. Movement started coming into my life more, seriously, but it was also from a place of like burning calories, always feeling like I needed to do more. So if I wasn't seeing results, then I must not be doing enough. And that sent me into that same sort of yo-yo cycle where I was either doing way too much with movement, or I was burning out. I had nagging aches. I was like 22 years old at the physical therapist, like, why are my knees hurting? Why are my hips hurting? And it's because I was just doing way too much. I was like, at that time, it was like CrossFit 6 days a week. And it was just like super intense. And then I ended up hitting kind of a breaking point with all of this in 2020. I was home a lot. I was also like spending a few months with my mom, and that like there's so much food in my mom's house, and like I guess just always being stuck at home during the pandemic. I think a lot of us kind of came face to face with our relationship with food or certain like mindless eating patterns. And all of that kind of culminated to me hitting my highest weight since high school. And I was binge eating, I was emotional eating, and just in a really bad place with food and my body. And I guess at some point I was just like, something needs to change. I've been at this for more than a decade and I'm still not like at a very, like, this doesn't feel good. And I'm not where I want to be physically or emotionally or any of that. And so I ended up looking online, and I found a dietitian who had a group program. I found her through Instagram, and her focus is on mindful eating specifically. And so that really kickstarted me starting to build a relationship with food that was beyond like calories and macros and weight loss. And it brought in this, like, it almost like started a personal growth journey for me, because my relationship with food, and I think it's similar for a lot of us, it kind of mirrors our relationship with other stuff in our life. All or nothing food, you can be all or nothing with movement. Perfectionism kind of plays into many different places. So that kind of kickstarted that journey for me. But I learned from her, it was a 3-month program, and I learned how to eat more mindfully, and just, like I said, really start to like nurture a relationship with food that was beyond just like changing the way I look. And so that's kind of what I ended up having to do, was take all the knowledge I had learned about nutrition science and weight loss, and then combining it with a more like gentle and like caring perspective, and brought them together. And it was kind of the same thing with exercise. I ended up having to step away from exercise completely during that sort of low point. And then I started to get back into it with just gentle movement. I walked, I started doing yoga again, and that really helped me to reestablish a relationship with my body and with movement from a healthier place. And then I could bring in strength training again, but from that more grounded and mindful place without that like performance pressure. And then I started practicing Pilates. That brought in the core engagement, the posture, and just kind of rounded out my whole practice. Also very like grounding, type of movement. So all of that together, the movement piece, and then the balance with the nutrition of, caring for your body, but also giving your body the nutrients it needs, came together to kind of create the Nourished Method as it is now.
I think your journey is completely relatable. A lot of, I don't know your age, Steph, but I'm like a millennial, and we grew up in this crazy culture of the ebbs and flows of fad diets, then the celebrities that we looked up to. And I'm talking like the Lindsay Lohans and the Paris Hiltons that were famous at the time. So it was like this impossible standard to achieve. And so like that really affected our relationship with our bodies and with food. And I love what you said about like your relationship with food somewhat mirroring your relationship with yourself and your mindset, because if we think about like the needs pyramid, right? Like food and being fed is like one of those components. And if you don't have that, then you can't meet the other needs of your life, of your like social and psychological well-being either. So completely relatable. I'm glad you're in a good spot.
Yeah. It's definitely, it's an interesting, the needs pyramid. It's almost a different way to look at it, because it's so true. It's like having that foundation of when you have to fill your cup, right, and take care of yourself, and that food is such an important piece of that. If you're giving your body what it needs, you're going to feel completely different than if you're not. And also like that sort of mirroring of other areas in your life. For me, it's like how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so I think awareness around any sort of pattern. I think perfectionism is a great one. If you're like type A or perfectionist, like I can be, it's, if that often shows up with the all or nothing thinking and the perfectionism with your diet, but then probably areas of life. So it's just any like little tidbit or insight that you can find within your relationship with food. It's just, for me, it's been helpful to just get curious of like,
yeah, that's a really good point. I know you have an entire brand around Fit and Fed by Steph. For many moms who are listening, myself included, lunch is grabbing the cold chicken nuggets that were left over that our kids didn't get to, or a handful of goldfish at the end of the day. So what's your advice, or how do we move from, I'm going to call it kind of this like survival eating, to actually feeling fed without it creating more chores for us as moms?
Yeah, I think the best place to start is just exactly where you are. I think something that can sort of perpetuate that extremes and all or nothing, or even just that pressure of like, I need to overhaul my life and my diet is so imperfect. And, you know, I'm seeing online all these things. I need to be more like that. Like, you don't need to go from eating goldfish off your kid's plate to like perfectly balanced, like Pinterest worthy meals overnight.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you really zoom out and you choose one meal to focus on, and it can just be the meal that maybe you're the least consistent with or that you think would make the biggest impact on the rest of your day and how you're feeling, and then actually like feeding yourself for that meal. So if you eat something for that meal that is balanced and is sufficient for you, then you're less likely to pick at your kids' plates. Usually you're just hungry, and if you likely had something that was already made or that could be made really quickly, you would like, because you probably don't genuinely want the cold chicken nugget or the or the goldfish. Maybe you do, and that's fine. But if you don't, like, if it's just kind of out of convenience, you're filling the need for something that's not being met elsewhere. So just picking that one meal and make it easy. So if you're picking lunches, then sandwiches, wraps, salads, make ahead items. Breakfast could be overnight oats, yogurt bowls, egg bakes that can be made ahead of time, just anything that's easy to grab or that takes 5 minutes to make. And you can lump that 5 to 10 minutes of prep for yourself whenever you do for your kids. That's the other thing. It's like, I think the tips and the healthy meal ideas are great, but it's almost like a mindset shift that needs to be made where it's like, you know, I'm taking care of my kids. And because often what I'll see, it's like, you know, moms, they put so much love and care into their kids. They pack up their lunches. They do all the things that take all this time. But then when it comes to doing something for themselves, they don't. So making that sort of mindset shift or like mental agreement with yourself that I'm going to add on just 5 to 10 minutes, throw some oats in a jar and some protein powder and some milk, shake it up, put it in the fridge so that I can be taken care of as well. So I can continue to take care of my kids too.
Yeah. It's that whole adage of like, put your mask on in an airplane before putting others on. Like, you have to be able to show up for others. So taking care of yourself first is priority. I like what you said about just like the 5 to 10 minute extra prep, because I think sometimes it can be overwhelming for parents to think about like, okay, now I have to go and make all these versions of meals. I have to make the kid dinner and then my dinner, the kid lunch, and then my lunch. So finding ways to make that either like a common meal that everybody's going to like, or the special supplementation for mom or dad that's going to keep them fueled.
100%. Yeah. And I mean, on that point of like making multiple meals, I sometimes like, I feel like that is a common experience. You know, it's like that overwhelm of like, there's my healthy food and then there's the food that the rest of my family eats. And I think that's a really important sort of like thing to dismiss in your mind, that you need to be making something separate for yourself. And, you know, most balanced meals, which are protein, carbs, and veggies, are kid friendly with some little tweaks. So if you just make like one dinner, for example, and then you can adjust the portions or size. So the assembly of the meal instead of the whole meal itself. That's like a great approach to kind of make your life easier and make this so it doesn't feel like it's something you're adding to your to-do list. And you can really just start with like, what does your kid want to eat? Maybe that's like mac and cheese. Maybe they love mac and cheese. And so, because when you think about like meals as balanced pieces, you have protein, carbs, fats, and fiber. Mac and cheese is mostly carbohydrates. So that would be the carb for the meal. And then you can add chicken on the side. And then you can, maybe that's all your kids will eat and that's fine. And then you add for yourself, you just have to make a side salad or some roasted veggies. Maybe you can sneak some into the pasta and your kids want it. Either way, you're still making the same thing, but you're just adding something on for yourself. And with that, I think it's that sort of shift of like, there aren't like a list of foods that I can eat and a list of foods that my kids can eat is really important, because that makes this so much easier. If you don't have that restricted mindset with food, and you're allowed to eat mac and cheese, then you can just start with whatever it is without having to find like this healthy, perfect version of it that everyone will end up liking, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. We're big fans of the deconstructed meal over here. That's what we call it, is like a full-on deconstructed meal. So the taco bar where everything's separate and you can kind of build your own. And for my kids, I would say 99% of the time they're going for the meat, the cheese, and the sour cream, and that's it. But at least for my husband and I, we can do the shredded lettuce and the peppers and all the other things to get us a little bit further. Yeah, they are getting protein. They are getting protein. I think protein and starches and carbs are where they do best. We talked a little bit about this, which is just the intense pressure, whether it's from when we were growing up, which I think we think about like the workout videos and the almond moms and the fad dieting, to even today, like you were chatting about, you scroll through Instagram and it's just these like unattainable standards in my mind of like the 37-step morning routine before they've even left their house. Do you feel like when your clients come to you that they do feel this like insane kind of, I call it like the bounce back culture? Because for moms, a lot of times we do face like that bounce back factor after having kids, but you could call it bounce back at any point in your life, really. Do you feel like you get that a lot? And like, what is your response to folks when they bring that concern to you?
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I have felt that. I definitely understand that. And yeah, I think it started, like you mentioned, you know, growing up. I'm 33, so I grew up, you know, I'm also millennial, and I grew up in that same time of like, you know, lots of diet, size zero, smaller is better. And that's deeply ingrained. And it doesn't just like go away as you age. It kind of has to be something that if it is something that is in your mind, you have to be able to like acknowledge it and then choose something different. And, you know, either way, like, yes, the pressure is real and it's for all women, but especially moms. You know, I think especially like the postpartum body, it's kind of viewed as this like problem that you have to fix instead of a baby that needs to be taken care of. Like, you just created a human inside of your body and then delivered it to the world. And that's kind of like incredible and a big deal. And it's also a lot of like physical trauma on your body, and your body needs to be like taken care of at that point. And it's our bodies, whether you're a mom or not, we go through different eras of, you know, how we look, how we feel. And I think it's really important to honor yourself where you are, and not try to change yourself and get like back to something that was the past. And it can be, you know, pre-baby, it can be your high school weight or clothing size or whatever sort of internal pressure you feel. Not that you can't have goals outside of where you are, but just like let the past be the past and just how can I now. So really reframing that goal of like, how can I get my body back to how can I just feel good in the body that I have, and shifting to like caring for yourself. And it's such a more like gentle and sustainable approach. And then with that, physical changes will come because you are being consistent. You're doing things that feel good. You want to be doing the things, so you're more likely to be consistent, and you get out of that yo-yoing of extremes and looking for quick results, which kind of fuels you kind of being stuck where you are.
Yeah. That's very good advice. You kind of spoke about this, but I think a challenge is there is just an overwhelming amount of information that we are being given at any point in time. Get rid of seed oils. Oh, seed oils are the best. Go with a keto. Oh, I don't know. There's downsides to keto. Everybody should try intermittent fasting. Like, the tools and techniques and tips, like, I often just like don't even know where to start. So what's your suggestion to folks around just like filter out some of the noise? And here's my advice.
Yeah, I think that's like half the work that I do with clients. And I get it. I mean, there's so much information out there. The information also changes all the time, like you mentioned. But the basics haven't changed and they're boring, and that's why no one talks about them. But things like get enough protein, eat your fruits and veggies, drink your water, move your body, get good sleep. Like it's those boring, sort of repetitive and mundane things that really are what matters. And I think if the advice is like eliminate whole food groups or buy a product or follow all these rules, it's probably just not worth doing. A couple of filters that you could use if you hear a piece of advice is number one, like, does it make my life easier or harder? So do I feel more energized with this, more satisfied, or is it adding stress to my life? And then secondly, does this have an expiration date? So is it a 30-day reset, a 7-day challenge? Like, I think with those things, like what's going to happen at the end when it's over? Because usually it's like if you can push through that challenge or that reset period, and then you get to the end, and oftentimes, like I know for most of the challenges I've done, I haven't made the 30 days of 10 things every single day. Like even that is hard. But if you get to the end, it shouldn't, if it feels like this relief of like, oh, it's over, you're kind of often left at this place of like, now what? And you usually go back to the patterns you had because they were never quite resolved. And then third is like kind of to that point, does this really feel sustainable and good? So do I see it as being something that I can and would want to do for a lifetime, pass on to my kids? Like these types of questions, I think will help to filter out the noise.
This should have been my tantrum, but I'm going to tantrum about it right now, which is also all those like 30-day challenges, 7-day challenges. I've done them. Most of the time I've done them with my husband because we're like this built-in support system for each other. He will inevitably lose like 9 pounds and I will lose 2. It is so annoying. But I mean, to your point, also, they're not sustainable, right? Like we did Whole30 at like, and I'm not knocking on Whole30, but like we did Whole30 and it was a point in time and it required so much advanced prep and so much like unique grocery shopping and going to Fresh Market or Whole Foods and getting all these things and like spending an entire Sunday prepping the breakfast for every day that week. And it was not sustainable. And that was even before I had kids. So I can't even imagine how like not feasible it would be now in my life.
100%. My partner and I did Whole30 back in our CrossFit days too. And it was like, it's super intense and it takes so much like, and I think like, yes, it's good to get in the habit of maybe like prepping on Sunday and stuff like that. But diets like that, and like, a lot of these diets they're rooted in something positive. You are eating whole foods and all of that. And there are theories behind why you maybe should eat less of certain foods. But at the end of the day, it's like, do you need that for you to feel good? Probably not for most people. And also, can you take like bits and pieces of what that teaches you, like meal prepping and maybe eating more whole foods and things like that, but then factor it into a lifestyle that actually like is realistic for you, that allows you to have a meal out without it being like bad and completely off of like what you quote unquote should be eating. I think that's like the biggest thing to kind of.
Yeah, that's very fair. One thing I love about you is that you're a registered dietitian, but I don't think that you really like frame foods as good or bad. You're of this mindset of like, if you want the chocolate chip cookie, like have the chocolate chip cookie. How can more people kind of like adopt this mindset? And especially for parents who I feel like an intense pressure every day to make sure that my children have a healthy mindset towards food. So can you talk to me a little bit about that and just like how you try to help people have that mindset?
Yeah. I think with that, especially the kid piece of it, like the most important thing that you can do for your kids' relationship with food is healing your own. So your kids are always watching how you talk about food, how you eat food, your relationship with food, whether it's something that's like stressful in your life or something that you look forward to. And having that narrative of good or bad foods in front of your kids, like they're going to internalize that. And they may feel like, if they hear that cookies are bad, then they're probably going to feel like they're doing something wrong if they want or are eating cookies. And so instead, just teaching them that like all foods fit, and teaching yourself that all foods fit, whether you're a parent or not, healing your own relationship with food is essential for yourself, but then you're going to pass that on to kids basically, as a parent. But teaching yourself and your children that all foods fit, and some foods are nourishing and they give us energy and nutrients and the things that we need to be healthy and strong. But then other foods just taste good and they're fun, and both have a place in life. And I think that's like the most important message. And I think the same thing goes for like body image, being mindful of how you're talking to or about yourself in front of your kids. All of that, plays a really big role in how they end up seeing food and their own bodies.
I want to talk about the Nourished Method. So you have created a proprietary method called the Nourished Method that I know you lead your clients through and that you use as a tool. Can you talk to me about what it is and what it entails?
Yeah. So the Nourished Method is basically just my approach to nutrition and wellness. At its core is this idea that you don't need to choose between having results and feeling really good in your body and then having freedom and enjoying your life and the foods you love. And it was really born from my own experience with 12 years of dieting. I was always oscillating between either seeing results when I did all the things or feeling like I was just like, failing when I was enjoying my life. And truly, like, the results did go away because I was either doing it all or really doing, not to say nothing, but, not the healthier choices. And so the Nourished Method, it has two pillars to it. So you have the nourished body. So that's a healthy body, strong, feeling energized, and just feeling good within yourself. And then a nourished life. So food freedom, confidence, not feeling stress around food, and just able to be more present in your life because you're not thinking about food all the time. Practically, it's personalized coaching. So I meet my clients where they are. I teach them a flexible framework to build balanced meals. I support them with movement, mindset, lifestyle changes, and all without the sort of rigid meal plans or obsessing over calories and perfection, really making this fit into their life. Because my goal at the end is for my clients to not need me forever. I want them to be able to walk away with the tools and the understanding to really like do this on their own for the rest of their lives. And then so that's kind of the personalized coaching side of things. And then I'm building something right now that's making this even more accessible, which I'm excited about. It's a wellness app that I haven't shared a lot of details on, but I will soon. But it's going to bring meal planning, recipes, movement sessions, and gentle tracking for awareness all into one place. And it's just designed to make healthy eating and taking care of yourself just feel more simple. So that's coming soon. We're hoping to open to beta testing in the next few months. So if you or any of your listeners want to be a part of the sort of creation of it, then keep an eye out. I'll be sharing more about that.
That is amazing. Super exciting. Good for you. All right. I want to move on because this is a hard one. And I feel like I struggle with this a bit too, which is a lot of people and a lot of women feel like if I can't do a full 45-minute gym session where I've got my arms, my legs, I've done the core thing, like it just didn't even count. Like I shouldn't have even just worked out. Like it doesn't count as a workout day, so to speak. As someone with your background and expertise, like how do you feel about that? And how do you redefine exercise for those busy moms who have like potentially infants and toddlers on their hands, and like 45 minutes at the gym is like not even attainable necessarily?
Yeah. I think this kind of ties back to what we talked about earlier, where the perfectionism, the all or nothing with food kind of mirrors the same pattern with movement. So if you have that, like, my diet must be perfect or it's not worth doing, I'll start on Monday or whatever the day is where I can like fully focus on everything, and then it never ends up lasting. It's kind of the same thing with movement. So it's like, like you said, if it's not worth doing, if it's not this like sweaty 45 minutes out, and then that pressure means that you don't do it. And then, it kind of perpetuates that not being a part of your life, movement not being a part of your life consistently. So the reframe is really that movement is movement, and 10 minutes a day is better than 60 minutes every once in a while. And the shift that I encourage is going from, I need to work out to how can I just move my body today in a way that feels good and that fits my life? Because an active lifestyle, which is really the goal, is more than just always like working out. So I think an active lifestyle is different from like, I feel like a lot of the time when we approach movement, it's like, I want to, excuse me, do this number of workouts per week. And, that's kind of all you focus on. So we can get into this cycle of I'm either working out or I'm kind of living a sedentary lifestyle. And an active lifestyle means that movement is just a natural part of your life. So you take the stairs, maybe you park a little further away, you go for a 5-10 minute walk when you get a break in the middle of the day. You play with your kids. Like those are the natural parts of your life that keep you moving and active and healthy. And then on top of that, if you can get 2 or 3 like formal workouts per week, that's great. And those are more targeted. Maybe you want to build muscle, whatever your specific health goals are. Even if it's just 10 to 20 minutes at home with like a pair of dumbbells, like that's going to be way better and more sustainable than like it has to be this like super intense thing that I do 5 days a week or something like that.
Yeah, I never really thought about it, but I just feel, I feel like like we were talking about, like with the diet fads and trends, like I think our generation was also hit with like the really intense all or nothing workouts, like CrossFit, Tybo, like remember the Billy Banks tapes, or I think that was his name. Like, I don't know why we were like that, but it feels like we were very much like an all or nothing like mindset growing up, which is, I don't know, maybe why we all ended up the way we did. We're all trying to heal our relationships with food and exercise.
I know, but hey, we're aware of it now. We're doing.
That's right. That's exactly right. All right, I want to hit you with some rapid fire questions. What is your go-to? I have no time today. I need a quick meal. What are you making?
Usually some form of eggs. Like eggs are my favorite, like protein that I always have in the refrigerator that don't need to be prepped ahead of time and take 5 minutes to make. I'll toast up some sourdough. Usually it's avocado toast. Sourdough, avocado, eggs, some feta, any form of veggie that I have, usually tomato. Or if I want something sweet, it'll be a Greek yogurt bowl, just yogurt, fruit, and granola.
Yum. I'm getting hungry just hearing this. What is one wellness trend? I guess we've talked about many today, but one wellness trend that you're like, gosh, I wish that one would just go away forever.
Yeah, there are many. But probably like just demonizing entire food groups. I think like, remembering, carbs are not evil. We need healthy fats, and a little added sugar is not going to kill you sometimes.
I love it. How do you respond to eating healthy is too expensive?
I definitely understand why it feels this way, but I also think it doesn't have to. Foods like eggs, beans, frozen veggies, rice, oats, kind of canned and frozen things, they're all really nutritious and they're kind of the basics and some of the cheapest. So I think gravitating towards those foods, you don't have to get like all organic. You don't have to get the like, fancy powders and all, like that's kind of where a lot of like those are nice, but it's also where a lot of the cost comes in. And also if you're cooking at home and planning your meals, then you're going to be saving money and you're going to be wasting less food.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's really hard to eat out for lunch for like anything less than $15 right now. So love the idea of just bring your lunch every day as much as you can. For our sugar addicts, of which I might be number one, how can we eat well without giving up this addiction?
Yeah, I also love sugar, but I think it's important to kind of reframe it. You're probably not addicted. You're often the pattern that I see is if you're under eating during the day, your body's going to be wanting quick energy later in the day. So especially if the sugar cravings hit around like mid-afternoon or after dinner, you may not be getting enough food. So sugar is like the quickest form of energy, so your body might just be craving that. So you can try, and there's many, I guess I'll preface this, but there's many sort of things that trigger cravings, but this is just one, especially with sugar, that is worth looking into. So if you just try to eat more balanced meals during the day, if you're not already, and just notice if that changes your cravings later in the day, but also including sweet foods in your balanced meals. So you can put granola on your Greek yogurt bowls or chocolate in your protein oats, learning how to really honor those cravings with balance. And they're going to end up reducing over time. I think a lot of the time, craving, especially sugar, that's kind of framed as this like bad thing that you should be avoiding. The more you try to avoid it, the stronger the craving gets. So kind of playing that balance between still honoring the craving, but yeah, does that make sense?
It does. It does. And I like what you said, because I think as moms, which is myself and a lot of my listeners, like sugar is it's going to be in our houses. Like it just is. The kids are going to have Halloween candy, Easter candy, like all that kind of stuff. And to your point about making sure that we're modeling for them like healthy behaviors towards foods, just like let yourself have the small little Hershey's bar every once in a while, or the snack size Snickers. But I like, to your point, like obviously make sure you're getting all the right foods to supplement and that you're feeling full. But yeah, it's just like a necessary thing. It's not going away anytime soon.
Yeah. And I mean, I like whenever we hand out candy for Halloween, obviously I get the ones that I like so that we can have lunch and enjoy it. And I'll put, a Reese's on like some oatmeal and it kind of melts on top. Like that's such a great way to like enjoy that food, but still, because I think the thing with sugar that can be most contributes us to kind of overeating it is when we're hungry, and that's what we gravitate towards, and it's just sugar, because that's going to cause a sugar spike. You're not going to be very full from it for very long, and then you're going to be very hungry soon after. So kind of making sure that you are, if you're physically hungry, giving your body what it needs, and then add that on top without feeling guilty about it. It's probably 50 calories or something like that. It's really not that big of a deal. And you're going to end up just kind of like normalize eating sugar for yourself and your kids as well.
I've seen some of those videos on your social. I've seen the melted chocolate, and I'm a huge fan, just so you know. Not that this is about me, but it might be about me. What is your advice to the 38-year-old woman who is eating well and exercising and still not losing the 5 to 10 pounds that she feels most comfortable losing? Like that is her ideal weight.
Mm-hmm. I think very common. And with that, I would say a couple of things to kind of check in on. First is making sure that you're looking beyond the scale. So when you say 5 to 10 pounds, like, is that on the scale, or is that like your estimate of, the change in your body that you're looking for? Because especially if you're active, you could be building muscle and losing body fat. The scale doesn't change that much. So just making sure that you're looking beyond that. Like, how are your clothes fitting? How are you feeling? Are you seeing visual changes, like the sort of changes beyond just that number? And then secondly, are you eating well and moving consistently? So that inconsistency, or that kind of all or nothing ebbs and flows, is what kept me stuck more than anything. And then third, you can look at stress, sleep, and under eating. All of those kind of put your body into survival mode. So even if you're eating well, your body could be holding on to excess weight because it's kind of this protective mechanism, and it doesn't feel getting the basics of what it needs. So a couple things to kind of look into with that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't think I even realized like under eating can be a factor too. Thank you for this advice. This like advice that I needed. All right, last rapid fire question. Talk to me your honest thoughts about GLP-1s, because listen, I got to tell you, I think it's becoming more and more common, the amount of folks that are telling me they started or they're taking them and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think GLP-1s, they're a valuable medical tool whenever they're genuinely needed. And I'm not here to judge anyone's choices, but I also think that they're not a shortcut or a replacement for habits. So how is your relationship with food, your body? How are your eating habits, your movement, your lifestyle choices? If all of those things are not in place, then it's kind of like a diet. What will happen when you stop the GLP-1s if the GLP-1s are the only reason that you're seeing the results for? And also, all these medications do come with some sort of side effects, and they are common with GLP-1s. So the natural and free, by the way, approach is always my first line of defense. And, there are so many other reasons to adopt a healthier lifestyle beyond just weight loss. So I think keeping that in mind, the healthy habits, the choices, whether you choose to take a fully natural route or add in the GLP-1s, that excuse me, should always be part of your approach is again, looking at your relationship with food, your body, your eating habits, to make sure that everything is getting addressed. But yeah, I know it's something that is becoming more and more common. I typically I like to take the more natural approach to most things. And if that is exhausted, then, searching outside and adding those things in. But I think, yeah, there's always side effects that kind of come with those things. So just being mindful. And if you do choose to take them, making sure that you're still looking at the basics of everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they've become as popular as just like you go to get your Botox and you get your GLP-1. Steph, you've been more than gracious with your time, and I appreciate the bonus 3 minutes that we're probably going to go over. But last kind of question for you is, your focus is on eating well throughout the day. Someone has had a terrible eating day, they've just binged, and I think everybody's kind of been there at one point in their life. They had fast food for breakfast, they had pizza for lunch, they skipped dinner altogether, or just snacked for dinner. And then they feel shame, right? They feel guilt. And so how do you push people past that shamefulness or guilt to just be hey, it was a moment in time. Let's get back on track.
Yeah. I mean, I think you kind of touched on it there. One day is not going to define your health. And that shame spiral is so much worse than the food itself could be for you. Often we have that quote unquote bad day of eating, and then that leads to guilt, leads to that, I already kind of ruined everything feeling, which often leads to more eating to kind of cope with the more shame. And then maybe you get to the point of I'll just start fresh Monday, and then the cycle continues. So I think just if you've had one of those days, zooming out, this day will be long in the past soon, and just get back to a normal breakfast the next morning. Nothing punishing or restrictive or making up for anything. Just normal, balanced, enough food. Because the goal is really to never have those days. It's to shorten the recovery time so that your next meal is a chance to start fresh, or the next day is a chance to start fresh and fresh doesn't have to mean perfect. It could mean that you're just getting some vegetables in your lunch, or you're having some protein in the morning, or going for a walk, drink your water, kind of get back to those basics. And most importantly, staying out of the sort of making up for things type of thing that can continue that all or nothing cycle.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, Steph, we're going to wrap up here. And we're going to wrap up with one of my favorite things, which is cheat codes. So cheat codes are anything that you have implemented in your daily life that has just made things run more smoothly for you or for your household.
Sure. Do you want one that is more practical and meal prep based, or kind of mindful eating side of things?
Let's go with practical. Let's do practical.
So practically, I would say prepping your protein at the start of the week. So having your protein ready, which is usually the part of your meal that kind of takes the most effort, makes the rest of your week run a lot easier. So you can bake some chicken, make some hard-boiled eggs, and just have that in the fridge. Chicken, you can put that into a wrap with hummus, greens, feta. None of that kind of requires any other cooking, and that can be your lunch. Or hard-boiled eggs you could put with some fresh fruit just for an easy snack during the day to get some protein that will keep you more satisfied.
That's a good tip, because I think people get overwhelmed when they hear meal prep and they think okay, all Sunday long, I'm going to be chopping up veggies. But to your point, even if you just take care of the protein part, that can be the heaviest lift, and then you're good. You can build around it. Awesome. Steph, thank you so much for your time. I've had so much fun speaking with you. I appreciate everything that you've had to say and the advice that you have offered, because this is a real issue for a lot of folks. It's just their relationship with food, their relationship with their bodies. Steph, people can find you on Instagram at Fit and Fed by Steph, where I know you have so many resources that we didn't even talk about today, but your meal ideas, your recipes, and your approach to nutrition and wellness. Folks should reach out to you if they want to work with you through the Nourished Method. And I am so freaking excited about this wellness app and just to see you continue this journey. That is amazing. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. This has been so much fun. My first podcast, I was kind of nervous, but I think it's a lot of fun to chat about all the things, and I hope it's been helpful for you and your audience.
Awesome. Well, you nailed it, my friend. You nailed it.